Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of AndrewsFootball.com. Welcome to my NFL Draft Review. Now, instead of making a video that's about 2 to 3 hours long, I cut it down into sections of 8. So I'm going to have 8 separate videos broken down by NFL division. Now, if you're new to my channel, I just got to ask you one simple question. Do you like talking football? Because if you do, you're in the right place. Ultimately, I'm making these videos to start a discussion with you. I want to hear what you think here. I'm offering my opinion. Give me a comment below and let me know what you're thinking. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? What did I fuck up on? Don't forget, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, there's a button right around here. See it, little subscribe button. Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. Now, let's start the show. Welcome to the NFC South edition. I'm going to start with the team that I thought had the best draft in the NFC South. So the NFC draft winner is... It's the Carolina Panthers. I gave them an A-, and they had a great draft. You get Derek Brown and Yader Gross-Matos, and I'm butchering that name, with your first 2 picks. And what I love is that you're going with players that can play either in a 3-4 or a 4-3. Both these guys are multi-dimensional players. So I kind of like that, you know, they were going into the season. They said, okay, we're going to run a 4-3, but we're going to show you some different sets. You get players that really, you're going to confuse defenses from the get-go because you got players that can play in all sorts of different schemes and formations. I love that. Jeremy Chin pick 64 is an absolute steal. He could have gone in the first round. He could have gone late in the first round and it would have been a good pick. Instead, you get him at the end of the second round. That's a steal. I think that this guy could be a Pro Bowl player as a rookie. Massive upside. He'll start. He's a great player. Then you get Pride and Robinson later on in the draft. Pride is a guy who could end up being a starting corner, ran track at Notre Dame. Getting him in the 4th round was excellent value. Robinson, the 5th round pick, he's out of West Virginia. He got kicked off the team, played in the XFL, productive in both college and in the XFL. He was a guy, if he didn't have all the off-field issues, probably be a 2nd, 3rd round player. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up starting, even though he's a 5th round player. So taking the chances on a guy who had some issues in the 5th round, great move. Roy, one of your guys from Baylor, you get him in the 6th round. Here's a guy who excels in stuff in the run. Could be an the zero technique in a 3-4, or use him as defensive tackle in 1st and 2nd down, not a pass rusher. But again, if you're going to scheme versatile players, plus him and Brown together, massive size, both are over 325 pounds. So I like how you got players that can play either in a 4-3 or a 3-4. Love that. And I also really like that you're an offensive coach and you go with all defense for your first draft. That is great. And not only I like that you went all defense, you went with guys that are scheme versatile. You said that you're going to be a multi-dimensional defense. Well, you got guys that are multi-dimensional all across the board. You got potentially 5 starters out of this defense. So I love what you did. This was a really, really great draft for the Carolina Panthers. Next is the Atlanta Falcons. I gave them a B, and I really liked their draft. First off, get the Atlanta native, A.J. Terrell at 16. There was talks about Atlanta wanting to trade up, and if they did trade up a few spots for A.J. Terrell, I would not have been upset at that. I think 16 is really good value. Plus, he's a perfect fit. This is a guy who could be a Pro Bowler day one. I love this pick. Davidson in the 2nd round is good value, but I really love that he's going to Atlanta. He adds some size to that defensive line, something that you really need. So I thought that was a really great pick. And then Hennessy, this is my favorite pick in the whole draft because this is a guy who could have gone, you could have chosen him in the 2nd round where you chose Davidson, and it would have been maybe a slight reach, but I thought he was going to go in the 2nd round. Instead, you get him in the 3rd. Last year, you overdrafted for offensive linemen. This year, you get a guy who should have been in the 2nd round. You get him in the 3rd round. He falls to you. He might be your starter at guard day one, but he eventually is going to replace Mack at center. So I love these first 3 picks. They were really great picks. In the 4th round, you got some guys that are definitely projects. Walker is extremely athletic, but very raw. Will help on special teams. Not really sure that he really fits. But basically, you got players that are projects. Ultimately, you're going to get 3 eventual starters. I'm not sure if Hennessy's going to start year 1 at guard or if they're going to wait to get rid of Mack and then move him into guard. Either way, I love the upside, and I thought this was a very solid draft for the Atlanta Falcons. I gave the Saints a C+. They only have 4 draft picks, but they got 4 pretty good players. Ruiz, very solid. I thought the value at 24 is pretty good. Should be a day 1 starter. Bond is an excellent fit. This is a guy who could have gone late first. You get him in the 3rd round. The one thing about the Bond pick that I'm really not sure how he fits in on the Saints defense. I might have given this draft a higher grade if I understood Bond's fit, because the value is great. But sometimes you draft a player who has high value, but he doesn't fit into your defense. That's kind of what I see, is that great value. I'm not sure the fit. And then Adam Troutman, this is a great fit, and I wouldn't love him for every NFL team, but for the Saints, this is perfect. This is a guy who will contribute. Not sure he becomes a day 1 starter or not, but this is a guy who definitely will contribute. Their final pick is they get Tommy Stevens, a 7th round quarterback out of Mississippi State. I should say quarterback, because he's going to be like a hybrid. He could actually end up being a tight end. They're going to use him the same way they use Taysom Hill. So that's kind of interesting. Now, even though they only have 4 picks, they drafted 4 really good players. I'm going to stick with my C+ grade. I love Bond's value. I'm just not sure to fit. Now, when I watch the Saints in preseason, it's going to be very interesting to see how they use him, because if he ends up fitting into this defense, I'll reevaluate, probably give this draft a B, maybe a B-. But even though I love the value, I'm not sure of the fit. But the other players, very good players. Saints really don't need much, so I like what they did with this draft. I also gave Tampa Bay a C+, and that's factoring in getting Gronkowski for a 4th round pick. I do count that as part of the draft grade. Trading up for Wars is a really good move. You get a day 1 starter on the offensive line, something that you need, especially after spending a lot of money and getting Tom Brady. Your 2nd round pick, Antoine Winfield at 45, another day 1 starter. I like him at 45. He will have an instant impact on this defense. The 3rd round pick is you get a running back out of Vanderbilt, Vaughn. I thought it was a little maybe overdrafted, but he was productive at Vanderbilt and at Illinois. Not really noted as a receiver. Here's the problem I have with this draft pick is I had Zach Moss rated higher, and Zach Moss to me is a much better fit. And he was drafted 10 picks later, so why'd you pass up somebody who's a better prospect, better fit? I really didn't like that, so it's kind of hard for me to get on board with that pick and endorse it. 5th round pick, Tyler Johnson's also good value, but wide receiver is the one position you're really loaded at. So it's a 5th round pick, so it's interesting. Bottom line, when I look at the draft, is you traded a 1st and a 4th because you had to move from 14 to 13. Giving up a 4th was a lot, but you get a player of need. This draft comes down to those 2 players, Wars and Winfield, and how they are going to have an impact on this season. But what they did outside of those 2 picks, I'm not really a big fan of. So that's kind of why I give them a C+ grade here. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Let me know what your opinion is. Drop a comment below. I'm offering you what my opinion is, but I want to know what you think. Ultimately, this video was created so I can have a conversation with you. I got my opinion now. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Share this video with your friends. And hey, I'll see you next time.